X-Men. You were the X-Men.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to House of Power, our X-Men live action and Deadpool in review. My name is Kyle. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. Go check out the other content. But, guys, we're here for movie 8, I believe. We got our Wolverine hat, or Weapon X hat, I should say. And we got our X-Men t-shirt, guys. I'm going to go through my thoughts on the movie, favorite character, a score to 10, and rank it. And, guys, coming off of the best movie of Days of Future Past, love that film. Did we carry the momentum into the next movie? Let's find out. Absolutely not. We did absolutely not carry any of that momentum. This movie sucks, dude. This movie is boring and the effects are bad and the villain is terrible. I just didn't care about Apocalypse at all. I thought his face looked so dumb and the acting performance I wasn't feeling. But every time I looked at him, I was like, you just look like you're like a 50-year-old man that hates his job working in HR or in a cubicle somewhere in a warehouse or something. Like I just couldn't get into it, man. And he's supposed to be this all powerful. They're like, oh, he was the first mutant. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he's super powerful. And then there's talk about Magneto, and they're like, oh, well, Magneto went off, but oh, he's a changed man now, and he went to Poland and he changed his name. And he's got a wife and daughter, and I'm like, okay, but he's working at a metal factory, and I was like, bro, that's like a weird kink thing. Like he's like, oh, got to be around metal. He like knowing he can like destroy this whole thing. It's like he's like edging to it. It's weird. It's like, oh, don't worry, nothing's gonna happen. Apparently, Professor Xavier wiped Rose's mind, and Rose Burns was already the least interesting character. And he's like, oh, I didn't look her up. Oh, yes, I did once or twice. And I'm like, what is the vibe of this movie, dude? This movie has like some goofy moments, and they were trying to be like funny in moments. I was like, this just isn't working for me. But he erases Rose's mind, and at the end, he's like, "Oh, here you go. I'm on the beach in Cuba, and here's your memories back that I definitely did not initially erase from you." And I was like, "Oh my god, dude!" But Apocalypse wants to meld his mind with Charles Xavier because he's like the missing piece, and he uses him to like speak out because they don't need Cerebro or whatever. They can just use Apocalypse. But then this movie's all about like use the power within and unleash the power within, and then Jean comes and saves him at the end, and Sansa Stark lets out the Dark Phoenix or whatever, and it's the giant phoenix, and he says something, and God, dude, this movie sucks. The only good thing, the one really cool scene, one of the like best scenes ever, is the Quicksilver slow-mo scene. And they followed up Days of Future Past, where I said that was an amazing scene. And they're like, you know what? I remember how that scene was super cool and fun. Now we're gonna put Sweet Dreams in this one, and it's gonna be even crazier. And right when they explode the reactor or something in the X Mansion, we get this awesome scene where everything stops, and then Quicksilver comes in, Peter Boner, whatever his name is. He goes around and he stops, he throws everyone out, and it's just so cool, dude. It's so good, it's so well made, it's so fun. Except he missed one kid. He missed it. It's Scott's brother, Scat. He missed his brother Alex. Apparently, I didn't even know he had a brother. And he's like, "Oh no, I definitely got everyone." And they're like, we're missing Alex, and I'm like, who is Alex, dude? Like Scott has a brother. Like, can he see, or does he have to have blue spectacles? They're like, oh well, he was closest to the blast, and I'm like, okay. And then they go to like the rubble, and I'm like, what are you looking for? You're not gonna find anything. And so he's just dead. So he saved everyone, and they're like mad at Quicksilver, and I'm like, bro, he literally saved like 50 other kids from absolute destruction because he's able to move so quickly. But that was the one scene that I thought was amazing. But this thing with Magneto, man, Magneto. So I liked Fassbender more in this one, but what was the point of him being in this movie? I mean, on the Disney Plus promo, guys, X Men Apocalypse now, this 2 hour and 25-minute movie, and actually the runtime, I didn't really feel it that much. It was a little slow, but I'm surprised it's like the longest one. Magneto is up here in the promo. If you go to Disney Plus app and go to X-Men Apocalypse, he's the main guy. It's Magneto. And I'm like, oh, here we go. We're gonna have Charles versus Magneto. It's gonna be a great battle. But nah, dude. Nah, Magneto's just gonna he's gonna pretend to be someone else. And then his wife and daughter get murdered in front of him. And I'm like, okay, and then she's wearing like a necklace, a metal necklace, and then a super cool scene where he does like a little yondu with a whistle, and he throws the coin, and it just slits everyone's throat. He's like, "Oh, I'm not that guy anymore," but I'm like, "But Magneto, deep down, you are that guy. You're really just a heartless monster." And I know he had a reason to kill this time, but you didn't have to kill all those people. You could have, or you could have killed the one guy that killed your wife in front of you, like the guy that shot the arrow or whatever. He could have been like, you know what, that guy's dead. I'm not going to kill the rest of you because I am a changed man. But also, like, what do you mean you're a changed man, dude? You were like this big Magneto figure, and then you just kind of floated off, and then it's like, you know what? Then he got a wife and kids, and Quicksilver is his son, and I'm like, what? They just threw that in there, and then this, when he goes to join Apocalypse gathering the people, so dumb, right? We see him get buried in the beginning, and they're like transferring powers, and they're talking about how he's got like the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I'm like, all right, a little too on the nose there, but then he comes up and he's got to have basically his crew of four, and he gets that kid with the wings who got his wings clipped apparently. For some reason he gets him, maybe because it's like a biblical, like, oh, he's got wings. I don't know, he's not like the strongest mutant or anything, so he gets him. He gets who becomes Storm, which I guess was interesting. And then Olivia Munn's character, and then let me say, Olivia Munn is hot, smoking hot. So I wasn't mad about this, but it was a weird like ragtag. And then he's like, "Oh, let me get Magneto," and it's like Magneto has one thing. So Magneto saves his coworker from certain death. So an accident happens or something, and this thing's coming down, and Magneto stops it and actually saves the guy. Then he's looking around and he's like, "Nobody saw that, right?" And then these people, the coworkers, like snitched to the police that he was Magneto. So then they come for him and they said there's no metal, and then somehow his wife gets shot, and then he kills him with the thing. And he like loses his mind and goes to the factory, and he's like, I see some of you snitched on police, and he's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to kill all of you now. And I'm like, no, you don't, and it's like, why? You can't tell me you're a changed man, Magneto, and then just be like, I'm gonna go on a murdering spree now because someone tipped off the cops that I'm Magneto. And it's like, it's just weird. And then also, how did you not know that he was? I mean, I guess he's got a mustache now, but still. And I guess he wasn't using his powers. But he does that, and then he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go full Magneto. And then Apocalypse comes for him, and he's like, you cannot stop me from killing all of these men. And then Apocalypse just kills them instantly. And so he like took that from him, but then he just like gets his suit again, and he becomes Magneto. But on the final battle, he doesn't do anything, dude. He has that one piece where Apocalypse is like, hey, I forget what he says, but he's like you can move the real metal in the earth or whatever. And he like destroys this random town. And then they go to the final battle, and Magneto's just up there, and he's just like spinning metal around. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And they go to talk to him, and they're like, Eric, it's us. And he's just staring at them. And I'm like, are you thinking about something? Are you evil? Are you good? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then like he doesn't help in the battle at all. He doesn't help Apocalypse. He doesn't help the X-Men. Like it's so weird. We get a Weapon X cameo, which was cool because Wolverine busts out, and so after he drowns or he's drowning, Stringer gets him. But then we found out that was Mystique. But then that's confusing because then he went to the lab and was turned into Weapon X, and I'm like, if Mystique got him, wouldn't she have freed him or something? It's so confusing because it's like a different timeline now because of Days of Future Past. But I was Googling, and it's like this. It's just weird, dude. It's just weird because Logan hadn't met anyone yet, and he's like basically turned into this like Winter Soldier. But then Jean frees him, and she's like, "Oh, I gave him some of his memories in the past," and he just like runs off into the woods. But then I'm like, so is this a prequel to the first movie, or is this a different timeline, or what? It's just confusing. I feel like either have Wolverine as the crew or just don't have him in the movie. It seemed like they just had to throw him in there to throw him in there. He didn't even like help them escape or anything. I mean, he killed a bunch of those people, but this movie's just weird, and it's it doesn't make sense. And let's talk about how Quicksilver. So they go to talk to Mystique, is like kind of like everyone's like, oh, Mystique, you're like the figure or whatever. And they go to Mystique goes to talk to Eric, or goes to talk to Magneto when he's up there trying to like convince him that he's good. And Quicksilver's there, and he's like, and what about you? What are you here for? And he's like, you're my I'm also here for family. And I'm like, just tell him you're the son, dude. And then at the end, Storm, I think, is like, so that guy's your dad? And he's like, yeah. She's like, are you gonna tell him? And he's like, maybe. I'm like, what, dude? Oh, this movie sucks, dude. This movie sucks. And the last one was so good, and then this one just kind of just a clunker. And that's what I got for this one, guys. All right, guys, my favorite character for this one, it's Quicksilver. It's really the only likable character like in this movie. I mean, he doesn't want to tell his dad that he's the son, but he's got the coolest scene in the movie, and he's fun, and he's kind of got this like goofy, like immature vibe, and but it like works for his character. But I don't know, man. His character I thought was great, and I thought the effects were cool. And I love how he brings a different vibe, but it also just doesn't really fit in with everyone else. But he's my favorite character, man. But okay, guys, that brings us to the score. It's not a good score. I'm giving this one a 5.4. I thought about X-Men Origins Wolverine, and I'm just like, is it worse than that movie? And I don't think it is, but there's just a lot that's missing here, man. There's just a lot of like dialogue choices that don't make sense. There's not really anything being accomplished here. I mean, Charles is like, oh, I want to set up a school for humans and mutants. I'm like, oh, okay, but cool, I guess. And we find out Charles loses his hair because he gets possessed and almost transformed or almost mind melded with Apocalypse. And I was like, that's how he loses his hair. And it's just weird. And Jean saves the day at the end, but like, what did we really learn in this movie? What really was really accomplished in this movie? Why did you erase Rose Byrne's memory? It's so weird. And he's like clearly kind of in love with her. But then it's like, just I can't anymore, dude. I can't. Maybe I'm getting X-Men fatigue, but not. I should not really because I love the last movie, and I just wish they carried in that momentum. And this this movie should have been Charles Xavier, Magneto, crazy. They're both like getting into their powers. They're going off on this crazy thing, and they just introduced Apocalypse, and I just was like, why is this character even like involved in this? And they teased it, I guess, in the post credits last time when they had like them building the pyramids and stuff, and I was like, is that supposed to be Magneto? But it was a different ancient character, and it was one of the ancient members or something. But I don't know, man. This movie blows. Hey guys, that brings us to our rankings. We are going to start at the top here. X-Men Days of Future Past at number 1, a 9.5. Number 2, X-Men The Last Stand, 9.4. Number 3, the original X-Men at 8.1. Number 4, The Wolverine. I know it's called The Wolverine. I like saying The Wolverine. It's funnier, guys. Someone's going to laugh at it. 7.1. X2, X-Men United at 6.6, guys. Then we have X-Men First Class at a 6.2. And then we have just barely above X-Men Origins Wolverine. This movie, although the more I think about it, the more I feel like it should be under X-Men Origins Wolverine. But this one, I think I gave it a 5.4. And then last but not least, X-Men Origins Wolverine, 5.2. But guys, there are some hits and there's some misses, but it's a lot of misses. And I really thought this one had potential to be good. And I've heard Dark Phoenix sucks. So I don't know if it'll be worse than this, but I like Sansa Stark. I like Sophie Turner as Jean Grey a little bit, but it was so just kind of missing. There's just a lot of things missing in this movie, and it's I don't know, man. That's those are our rankings to rate movies. All right, guys, that's another episode House of Power. Maybe I'm fatigued. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm just like I can't believe how bad that movie was, or how boring that movie was, or how it didn't need to exist at all. But we keep going, guys. Next up, we do have a good one. Next up is Logan, and then I think we have Dark Phoenix, and then I think we have New Mutants as the last X-Men movie, and then Deadpool 1 and 2, if I remember correctly. So we're getting there towards the end, guys. I'm binging these night after night after night, so it is going to be as fresh as possible when I go into Deadpool 3. But appreciate you guys. Thanks for checking out House of Power. Go check out the other content. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this movie, dislike this movie, you guys know the deal. Until next time, guys, I am inevitable.